The great meeting hall of the celestial hunting grounds glowed with red light. Today, the most deadly hunters in the galaxy gathered for an important meeting. They came from 100 different worlds. Some had scales, some had fur, some had hard shells. All had evolved to be the top killers on their home planets. In the center of the round hall stood Admiral Tejo. His huge body was covered in shiny blue-green scales. His claws could cut through metal. His teeth could crush bone. He led the Draxian Empire, which had taken over 17 star systems, because Draxians were simply stronger and more deadly than anyone else. "My fellow hunters," Tejo said in his deep voice that filled the room. "Our scouts have found a new species that has just started traveling between stars. They call themselves humans, and they come from a planet called Earth." Large screen appeared in the air showing pictures of humans. The aliens in the room made sounds of disgust and amusement. They clicked, growled, and hissed at what they saw. "Look at these creatures," Tejo continued, pointing with a sharp claw. "They have no natural weapons, no claws, no fangs, no poison. Their muscles are weak compared to ours. And our scientists believe they evolved from prey animals, not hunters." Commander Sujin walked forward. She belonged to the Arcturus Collective. Her body was like that of a giant insect. She had 6 limbs ending in sharp pincers that could snap through the hardest metals. Her black eyes reflected the red lights of the hall. "Why are we even talking about such weak beings?" she asked, moving her antenna to show her amusement. "They should be classified as food, not as a species worth talking to. They look more like the things we eat than like us." The hall filled with the laughter of predators. It was a terrible sound. Roars, screeches, and rumbling growls all mixed together. Only one being did not laugh. General Dae-sung of the Veridon Sovereignty sat quietly, his 4 compound eyes fixed on the images of humans. Dae-sung was old. His green shell was marked with scars from 1,000 battles. He had fought across 3 arms of the galaxy and had survived when others had died. Over his long life, he had developed a sense for real danger. "Something is not right," he said finally. His voice was like stones grinding together. The laughter stopped. Every predator in the room turned to look at the old general. "What do you mean?" asked Admiral Tejo. "These humans have no natural weapons, yet they have built ships that can travel between stars." Dae-sung said slowly. "Think about this. Every species in this room evolved to be a hunter. We all have natural weapons: claws, fangs, poison, strength, speed. Yet we all developed similar technology. We all followed similar paths to the stars." He pointed at the image of a human. "These creatures had no such advantages. They were prey, not predators. Yet they reached the stars anyway. This means they found a different path, a path we do not understand." "So what?" sneered Commander Sujin. "Different doesn't mean better. We are the apex predators of the galaxy. We are the Council. We decide the fate of lesser beings." "Yes," admitted Dae-sung, "but we should be careful. When you hunt in strange forests, you must watch for strange dangers." "You worry too much, old one," said Admiral Tejo. "You have fought too many battles and now you see danger everywhere. These humans are nothing. But still, we should learn more about them." He turned to address the council. "I propose we send a hunting party. They will make contact with these humans and test their strength. Then we can decide where they belong in our galactic order." "I volunteer," said Commander Sujin quickly. Her pincers clicked together eagerly. "My battle fleet will find these humans. We will test them. If they are stronger than they look, they might provide some good sport before we conquer them." General Dae-sung stood up. His old body creaked as he rose to his full height. "I advise caution. We should send observers first, not warriors. Any species that reaches the stars without natural weapons must have developed other strengths we might not recognize until it's too late." But the council was not listening. They were predators, and predators love the hunt. The room filled with roars of approval for Sujin's plan. "It is decided," said Admiral Tejo. "Commander Sujin will lead the hunting party. She will make first contact with these humans and test their worth. If they prove interesting, she may even bring some specimens back for study. Sujin's body shook with excitement. She imagined the glory of discovering and conquering a new species. Her name would be remembered in the great hunting songs of her people. "I will prepare my fleet immediately," she said. "We will depart for this earth within 3 cycles." As the meeting ended, the hall filled with excited talk about the humans. The predators discussed how they would classify them, what tests they would use to measure their strength, and whether they would taste good. Only General Dae-sung remained silent. He looked again at the images of humans on the screen. They seemed so soft, so weak, so helpless. Yet something bothered him. If humans had evolved as prey, they must have had predators on their homeworld, predators they had somehow defeated to become the dominant species. How had they done this without claws or fangs or poison? As Dae-sung left the hall, a cold feeling settled in his old heart. He had lived long enough to know that the most dangerous enemy is the one you don't understand, and no one in the council understood humans at all. 3 cycles later, Commander Sujin's battle fleet jumped into the star system the humans called Sol. Her fleet had 7 warships. They were built to look scary. They had sharp edges and points that made them look like giant space predators. Red lights glowed along their hulls, reminding all who saw them of blood and danger. Sujin stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Fang of Arcturus. She felt proud. This would be an easy hunt. She would be the first to meet these humans, the first to test their strength, and the first to bring some back to the council as specimens. "What do our scanners show?" she asked. Tactical Officer Ji-won moved her clawed hands over the control panel. Her 6 eyes blinked as she read the data. "The humans have built some small space stations," Ji-won reported. "They also have a few small warships. Their technology is very simple compared to ours. I think they are at least 3 steps behind us in development." Sujin clicked her pincers together. This sound meant she was disappointed. "Are they even worth hunting? This is like hunting baby animals. There is no glory in it." "They still might taste good," said another officer, and the bridge crew laughed. Sujin settled into her command chair. It was made of materials taken from her past victories. "Open communication with the humans. Let's see what they have to say before we start hunting." The main screen on the bridge lit up. It showed a human female. She wore a simple blue uniform. She had no claws, no fangs, no obvious weapons. She looked soft and weak. "This is Captain Yuna Kim of the Earth Defense Force," the human said. "You have entered Earth space without permission. Please tell us why you are here." Sujin rose from her chair. She stood to her full height, twice as tall as any human. Her hard shell gleamed in the red lights of the bridge. Her pincers opened and closed slowly to show her power. "I am Commander Sujin of the Arcturus Collective," she said. "I speak for the Galactic Council of Apex Predators. We have come to test your species and decide where you belong in the order of the galaxy." Captain Kim's face showed no fear. This surprised Sujin. Usually when prey animals saw predators, they showed fear. It was natural. It was right. "We welcome peaceful contact with other species," Captain Kim said. "But we do not accept that anyone has the right to test us or place us in any order. We are a free and independent species." The bridge crew of the Fang of Arcturus burst into laughter. The idea that prey could be equal to predators was funny to them. "Your acceptance is not required," Sujin said when the laughter died down. "To show you our power, we will take one of your space stations. You may try to stop us if you wish. It will make the hunt more interesting." Captain Kim did something unexpected. She smiled. "Commander Sujin," she said calmly, "I strongly advise against any hostile action, for your own safety." This made the Arcturians laugh even harder. The idea that they needed to worry about their safety when dealing with humans was the funniest thing they had heard in many cycles. "Target the smallest station," ordered Sujin. "Fire 1 shot to show them our power. Try not to kill too many. We need live specimens to study." The weapons officer pressed a button. A beam of energy shot from the Fang of Arcturus. It hit a small human satellite, which exploded into tiny pieces. It was meant as a show of force, a way that predators showed who was in charge. For 5 seconds, nothing happened. The bridge crew waited for the humans to beg for mercy or try to run away. That's what prey did when predators showed their strength. Then something impossible happened. "Commander," shouted G1. "3 human ships have appeared. They were hiding, somehow. Our scanners didn't see them." "Where?" demanded Sujin. "They are right next to us." G1's voice shook with surprise. "They are very close to our ships." The human ships were small and simple-looking. They didn't have the threatening appearance of predator ships. They were smooth and gray with no sharp edges or blood-red lights. They looked like they were made to travel through space efficiently, not to frighten enemies. "They are not impressive," said Sujin. "What weapons do they have?" Before G1 could answer, the human ships fired. But they didn't fire like predators. Predators aim to kill, to destroy completely. The human ships fired with incredible precision. They hit the weapon systems of the Arcturian ships. They hit the engines. They hit communication arrays. But they did not hit life support systems. They did not aim to kill the crews. "Multiple systems failing," screamed G1. "Weapons offline. Engines offline. We can't move or fight back." Sujin couldn't believe what was happening. In less than a minute, all 7 of her powerful warships had been disabled. Not destroyed. Disabled. The humans had cut her claws and pulled her fangs, but had chosen not to kill her. The face of Captain Kim appeared on the screen again. "Commander, Sujin," she said, "your ships have been partially disabled as a defensive measure. We have carefully avoided causing any deaths. This is both mercy and warning." Sujin felt something new, something she had never felt before. Her antennae trembled. Her pincers shook. Her legs felt weak. She was feeling fear. "How?" she managed to ask. "How did you do this?" "You assumed we would fight like you," Captain Kim explained. "But we never evolved as predators. We had to develop different ways to survive, different ways to fight." More human ships appeared around the disabled Arcturian fleet. They moved in formation, surrounding Sujin's once proud battle group. "We will send repair teams to fix your life support systems and help any injured crew members," Captain Kim continued. "Then we will escort you to the edge of our system. You may return to your council and tell them what happened here today." Sujin sank back into her command chair. This was not how hunts were supposed to end. Predators were supposed to win. Prey was supposed to die or submit. The natural order had been turned upside down. "Why not destroy us?" she asked. "We would have destroyed you." Captain Kim's answer was simple but made no sense to Sujin's predator mind. "Because that's not who we are," the human said. "We don't need to destroy to prove our strength." As human repair ships approached the disabled Arcturian vessels, Sujin realized that General Dae-sung had been right to be worried. These humans were not just another species to classify and conquer. They were something new, something different, something more dangerous than any apex predator had ever imagined. General Dae-sung received the emergency transmission from Commander Sujin with growing dread. The once proud Arcturian's mandibles trembled as she reported the humiliating outcome of her hunt. They disabled 7 warships without a single casualty on either side. She concluded, her voice subdued. "They could have destroyed us, General. Instead, they repaired our life support systems, provided medical assistance to crew members injured during the power fluctuations, and escorted us to the edge of their system with a warning." The council chamber had never been so silent. Apex predators from across the galaxy watched the recording in stunned disbelief. "What manner of weapons did they deploy?" asked Admiral Tae-ho, his scales bristling with agitation. "Their technology is incomprehensible," replied Sujin. "They appear to have developed warfare in entirely different directions. No natural predators would fight this way." Dae-sung's compound eyes narrowed. "Explain." "Predators evolved to kill efficiently," Sujin continued. "Every species represented in this council developed weapons that maximize destruction: plasma cannons, disintegration beams, neutron scythes. The humans, They created weapons that incapacitate rather than obliterate. They could have annihilated us but chose precision instead. A murmur of confusion spread through the chamber. The concept was alien to beings whose evolutionary path had always favored lethal force. Admiral Tejo slammed his clawed fist against the podium. This is absurd. One fleet's failure does not make these humans a threat. I will lead the next expedition myself with the full might of the Draxian Armada. General Daesung finally rose from his seat, his ancient carapace creaking. Before you depart, Admiral, perhaps we should learn more about these humans, their history, their evolution, their psychology. What is there to know? Scoffed Tejo. They are prey that somehow developed technology. That is precisely what concerns me, replied Daesung. In all the galaxy, predator species evolved similar characteristics: strength, speed, natural weapons. These humans evolved from prey animals, yet they reached the stars. Have you considered what that means? The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. It means, continued Daesung, that everything about them, their technology, their tactics, their very thinking, developed along a completely different evolutionary path than ours. They don't fight like predators because they never were predators. They survived, evolved, and thrived despite being prey. He activated the holographic display, showing images transmitted by Sujin's fleet. Look at their ships. No intimidation. Design, no predatory silhouettes. Their communications, no dominance displays. Their weapons, precise, controlled, restrained. Everything about them defies our understanding of how a spacefaring species should behave. Admiral Tejo's scales flattened against his body, a subconscious response to confusion. Then what are they? He asked. General Daesung's answer chilled the blood of every apex predator in the chamber. Something entirely new to our experience, and far more dangerous than any predator. A special research team was hastily assembled under General Daesung's direction. The finest xenobiologists, military strategists, and behavioral analysts from across the council races gathered to study this perplexing species that defied conventional classification. Chief researcher Mingi, a Veridon scientist with an exceptional analytical mind, presented her preliminary findings to the council 3 cycles later. Humans evolved on a planet that should have killed them, she began, displaying Earth's environmental data. Their homeworld contains apex predators that could easily hunt them, yet somehow humans became the dominant species without evolving significant natural defenses or weapons. The holographic display shifted to show human evolutionary history. Unlike any council species, humans did not evolve to become better killers. Instead, they developed 3 unique adaptations: endurance, cooperation, and tool use. Admiral Tejo snorted dismissively. All species use tools and cooperate. Not like this, Mingi countered. Council races develop tools as extensions of natural weapons. Humans develop tools as replacements for the weapons they never had. Their entire technological development followed a fundamentally different path than ours. The display showed prehistoric humans pursuing larger, stronger prey animals across vast distances. They called it persistence hunting, explained Mingi. Early humans couldn't outfight their prey, so they simply followed it until it collapsed. From exhaustion, they evolved extraordinary stamina and cooling systems that allowed them to run for hours or even days. Commander Sujin's mandibles clicked nervously. What does this have to do with their ability to disable our warships? Everything, replied Mingi. Their evolutionary history created a species with traits no predator would ever develop. Predators evolved for the quick kill. Humans evolved to outlast their adversaries. Where we see warfare as a demonstration of dominance through superior killing power, humans see it as a problem to be solved with minimum necessary force. She displayed footage from humanity's own historical archives. Their recorded history is a continuous chronicle of asymmetric warfare. Smaller human forces defeating larger ones through superior strategy, technology, or simply outlasting their enemies. They call it guerrilla warfare, attrition, precision strikes. Concepts alien to predator psychology. The council chamber grew increasingly uneasy as Min-gi continued. Most disturbing is their psychological resilience. When predator species face a superior force, instinct eventually triggers submission. Humans have repeatedly demonstrated the ability to resist vastly superior forces indefinitely. They simply do not accept defeat the way predators understand it. Admiral Taeho's scales had lost their luster, a sign of deep distress in his species. Are you suggesting we cannot defeat them through conventional means? I am suggesting, Min-gi replied carefully, that our conventional understanding of defeat may be irrelevant when dealing with humans. They evolved as prey animals that turned the tables on their predators not through superior strength, but through superior endurance, cooperation, and adaptability. General Daesung's compound eyes reflected the holographic images of human history. They don't fight to dominate, they fight to survive, and that makes them more dangerous than any apex predator in the galaxy. The implications hung heavy in the chamber. For the first time in Council history, the apex predators of the galaxy faced a species that couldn't be understood through the lens of predator psychology. They had encountered something truly alien. Part 5. A New Order. The Grand Halls of the Celestial. Hunting grounds had never hosted a non-predator species. For millennia, the Council had maintained that only those evolved as hunters deserved a voice in galactic affairs. Yet today, a human stood before them. Ambassador Junho Park was unimpressive by Council standards, small, without natural weapons, clothed in a simple blue uniform bearing the insignia of the United Earth Government. He showed none of the dominance displays typical of diplomatic exchanges between predator species. Admiral Taeho, still smarting from the Council's rejection of his proposed military solution, glared down at the human from his elevated podium. "State your purpose, Earth being." Ambassador Park smiled, a gesture that held no meaning in predator communication. "I come with an invitation. Earth wishes to establish peaceful relations with the Galactic Council and all its member species." "Relations? Between what?" snarled Taeho. "Between predator and prey? The natural order cannot be denied." "With respect, Admiral," replied Park, his voice calm and measured, "humans transcended the predator-prey dynamic thousands of years ago. We propose a relationship between equals." The council chamber filled with skeptical growls and hisses. General Daesung alone remained silent, studying the human with his ancient compound eyes. "You misunderstand your position," said Commander Sujin, her mandibles clicking rhythmically. "Your species may have developed impressive technology, but biology cannot be overcome. You evolved as prey. That reality defines your place in the galactic order." Ambassador Park's expression remained pleasant, but his eyes hardened slightly. "We were prey that learned to think. That changes everything." He activated a small device and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed human history, not the military victories or technological achievements, but the evolution of human society, art, music, literature, philosophy, science, the gradual expansion of human cooperation from small tribes to global civilization. "We did not evolve to be the strongest, the fastest, or the most lethal," continued Park. "We evolved to be the most adaptable. Where predator species developed along narrow evolutionary paths optimized for killing, humans developed the capacity to change their environment rather than be limited by it." The display shifted to show human spacecraft exploring their solar system, then reaching to the stars. "Our strength is not in our biology but in our diversity of thought. We don't need natural weapons because we can imagine and create tools for any situation. We don't need to be individually dominant because we learn to cooperate at scales no predator species has achieved." General Daesung finally spoke, his ancient voice resonating through the chamber. "And if we reject your offer of peaceful relations?" For the first time, Ambassador Park's smile faded. "Then we will defend ourselves. Not through dominance displays or demonstrations of superior killing power, but through persistence. It is what we evolved to do." The unspoken threat hung in the air. Predators evolved for the quick victory, the decisive battle. Humans had evolved to endure, to persist, to outlast. In a prolonged conflict, which evolutionary strategy would prove superior? Silence fell over the council chamber as the apex predators of the galaxy faced their greatest challenge. Not a superior predator, but a species that had evolved beyond the predator-prey dynamic altogether. General Dae Sung lowered his massive body in the first gesture of respect ever shown to a non-predator in council history. Perhaps, he said slowly, it is time for the galaxy to evolve beyond ancient instincts. One by one, other council members followed his example. Admiral Taeho was the last, his scales bristling with reluctance before finally acknowledging the new reality. The age of the apex predator was over. The age of cooperation had begun. As Ambassador Park extended his hand in the human gesture of peaceful greeting, the galaxy's most dangerous hunters realized a profound truth. In the cosmic scale of evolution, adaptability would always triumph over raw predatory power, and humanity was the most adaptable species the galaxy had ever encountered. The void breach grew larger with each passing minute. Black tendrils of energy reached out from the tear in space, probing the darkness like hungry fingers. The Confederation fleet hung motionless, their ships disabled by some unknown energy field emanating from the breach. Only the human vessels remained operational. The Prometheus, along with the Juno and the Armstrong, maintained position at a safe distance. Their systems functioned normally while all other ships drifted helplessly. On the bridge of the Confederation flagship, Admiral Jorvik stared in horror at the growing rift. Emergency power barely kept life support running. How are the human ships? Still functioning? He demanded. No one had an answer until a communication officer spoke up. Admiral, we're receiving a signal from the Prometheus. Captain Minho Park wishes to speak with you. Minho's face appeared on the screen, grim but composed. Admiral Jorvik, we know what this is. The void breach your ancestors tried to cover. Up has returned, just as the Veltorians warned. Jorvik's tentacles curled in surprise. How do you know about the void? The same way we know about the betrayal of the Veltorians. The same way we know you've been preparing for this day for centuries, planning to sacrifice border worlds while your leadership hides in protected bunkers. Jorvik couldn't deny it. The plans had been in place since before his birth. It doesn't matter now, he said. Nothing can stop the void once a breach this size opens. We are all doomed. Minho allowed himself a small smile. Maybe not all of us. There's still Lieutenant Kim in the Apex suit. One suit against the void? Impossible. The Veltorians built hundreds and still failed. They built hundreds for Veltorians, Minho replied. They built one for humans. The communication cut out as Minho turned to his crew. Any sign of Lieutenant Kim? Approaching from Sector 7, Captain, reported the tactical officer. Moving. Faster than our sensors can track, he'll be here in minutes. Minho nodded. Good. Let's hope he's learned how to use that suit properly. Taeho streaked through space, the suit moving at speeds he hadn't thought possible. The stars blurred around him. With each second, the neural connection grew stronger. The suit's display showed 89% efficiency now. What happens when we reach the void breach? He asked the AI. We fulfill our primary function, it replied. The Apex suit was never designed as a weapon of war, Lieutenant Kim. That was a cover story. Its true purpose is to serve as a dimensional anchor, to close rifts from within. Taeho felt his stomach tighten. From within? You mean I have to go into that thing? We must enter the breach. Once inside, I can activate the final systems, but I must warn you. No Veltorian ever survived this process. The neural strain was too great. But you think a human can survive? You have already exceeded all Veltorian benchmarks for neural compatibility. If anyone can survive, it is you. The breach grew larger in Taeho's vision. Dark shapes moved within it, waiting to pour out into the galaxy. The suit adjusted course directly toward the tear in space. When we were designing the final Apex suit, the AI said, Collimore told us something I did not understand until now. He said the greatest weapon is not the one that destroys most efficiently, but the one that preserves what matters most. Taeho thought about Earth, about humanity's short time among the stars, about the countless species in the Confederation. who didn't deserve to die because their leaders had made terrible choices. "Let's do this," he said. The suit accelerated toward the breach. As they approached, Tejo saw the human ships repositioning, forming a defensive line between the breach and the helpless Confederation fleet. Even outmatched, humans would stand and fight. "Primary anchoring systems online," reported the AI. "Final integration commencing. Efficiency now at 94%. Tejo felt a strange calm settle over him as they reached the edge of the breach. The darkness seemed to reach for him specifically, as if recognizing an enemy. "The void entities can sense us," the AI confirmed. "They recognize this technology. They fear it." "They fear it," Tejo thought. "Good." He plunged into the breach. On the Prometheus, alarms blared as sensors went wild. "Captain, Lieutenant Kim has entered the breach," cried the science officer. Minho gripped the arms of his chair. "Maintain position. Be ready to retrieve him if possible." Ambassador Na-young, who had joined them from her diplomatic vessel, stood beside Minho's chair. "The Apex suit's energy signature is still detectable. It's growing stronger." Inside the breach, Tejo found himself in a place that wasn't a place. Darkness surrounded him, but it was alive, moving with purpose. Shapes formed and dissolved. He could feel them pushing against the suit, trying to break through. "Final systems activating," the AI announced. "Dimensional resonance building." The suit began to glow, not with the blue light of before, but with a pure white radiance that pushed back the darkness. Tejo felt energy flowing through him, using his body as a conduit. It didn't hurt. Instead, it felt right, as if he had been made for this moment. "Efficiency at 99%, the AI reported, preparing to close breach. The darkness fought back. Shadow tentacles wrapped around the suit, trying to tear it apart. Tejo struggled to maintain focus as visions of terror flashed through his mind. The void's attempt to break his concentration. "They are attacking your neural pathways," the AI warned. "This is why the Veltorians failed. Their minds could not endure this assault." Tejo thought of Earth again, of the people he had left behind, of the future humanity deserved to have. "I am not going to fail," he said, pushing back against the shadows with sheer determination. The suit pulsed with energy. The white light expanded outward, forcing the darkness back. Tejo felt the suit drawing power from him, from his will, his mind, his very humanity. "Efficiency at 100%, the AI said, with what sounded like awe in its voice. "Maximum output achieved. Closing breach now." The light exploded outward from Tejo in a shockwave that consumed the darkness. The tear in space began to shrink, its edges pulling together like a wound healing. The shadow creatures screamed in fury as they were forced back to their own dimension. With one final pulse of energy, the breach sealed completely. Tejo hung in empty space, the suit dim but still functioning. "Breach closed," the AI confirmed. "Mission successful." Tejo smiled wearily. "Let's go home." 2 weeks later, Ambassador Na-young stood before the full Confederation Council. The mood was very different from her last appearance. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a new respect and caution. The human request to form a special defense corps using Apex suit technology has been approved, Chancellor Zev announced. "In light of Lieutenant Kim's actions and the historical evidence Ambassador Choi has presented, the Confederation formally acknowledges its debt to both humanity and the Veltorian people." Na-young nodded graciously. "Earth accepts this acknowledgement. The Human Defense Corps will train under Lieutenant Kim's guidance to prepare for any future void incursions. We expect full cooperation and complete honesty from the Council going forward." The threat in her voice was subtle but clear. Humanity now possessed technology the Confederation feared and the will to use it if necessary. As Na-young left the chamber, Do-yun walked beside her. "Do you think they'll keep their word?" he asked quietly. "They will as long as they're afraid of us," she replied. "And thanks to Tejo, they're very afraid." On a training field back on Earth, Tejo stood before a group of new recruits. The Apex suit permanently bonded to him now gleamed in the sunlight. The AI had explained that the suit could never be removed, but more importantly, it had chosen not to be. It had found its perfect match. The Veltorians left us this technology for a reason, Tejo told the recruits. They saw something in humanity that they lacked in themselves. Our curiosity, our adaptability, our stubborn refusal to give up. He activated the suit's systems, the blue glow spreading over him as the armor responded to his thoughts. They chose, well, he said, repeating the final message the suit had shared with him. The future of all species now rests with humanity's inherent ability to turn curiosity into salvation. Around him, the recruits watched in awe as the human who wore an alien war suit and made the galaxy both furious and grateful, prepared them for what lay ahead. The end.